So today we actually are going to try a new experimental approach. I just had this idea that I think is going to make our brainstorming process much simpler and much faster and much more straightforward. This is untested, so there is like the 20% chance that it's going to be a disaster, but I hope that this is going to be really fun and it's going to really improve on our process. So I hope you guys enjoy it and we will see how it works. Okay. So what we are going to start with is that we are going to pick an objective for our players to pursue during our adventure. So we will start by picking one of the objectives from the category, from one of the categories. So action, social, or exploration. It's one of the three general types of adventures, and we are going to pick a goal that our players are going to pursue. So we will just basically take turns. So for example, I'm going to pick a goal, rescue or protect someone, and I'm going to add it to the first step in our adventure template. Next, I want somebody else to pick a secondary objective. So a thing that we need to accomplish in order to achieve our primary objective. So like rescue or protect someone would be the main objective that the players are trying to pursue. And now I want somebody to find one of the ideas from either social or exploration category and say that this is what the players need to do in order to accomplish it.
I found deal with the natural disaster and put that in there as an example.
Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna say, actually, because we are doing it a bit differently today, so I'm gonna put it into the same bullet point like so. So we are going to rescue or protect someone, and to do that we need to deal with a natural disaster.
Ooh. So we have like an Andromeda sort of situation, maybe.
Yeah, like just a massive disaster is happening and someone's in there that we have to rescue, basically.
It's starting to give me a 90s disaster movie vibe.
And finally, I want somebody to look at the bottom three categories and pick one of the things that is going to make our objective difficult to accomplish. So it can either be one of the constraints, like we have to do it stealthily or secretly, or we have a villain that has something that makes it more difficult for us, or we have to solve some kind of a mystery.
I would like to do it while protecting a dangerous secret.
Ooh, that's cool. All right, I love this. So we will figure out what that means later. And now I want us to go through this process a couple more times so that we have 3 different goals to choose from. So somebody else, please pick one of the main objective. We could also experiment with.
This is a quick aside. Is this vaguely based off of Microscope?
I'm not familiar with Microscope, but it is heavily inspired by Follow, game by the same author.
Oh, okay. Okay, very good. I love this. Sorry, this is exciting.
Okay, so if you're excited, do you want to choose one of the main objectives that we will pursue?
Let's pit people against each other.
Ooh, that's cool. Wonderful. Who wants to pick the secondary objective we need to accomplish in order to accomplish this one? Stefan or Axel? I don't think you guys have yet picked a thing. So you want to pick either action objective or a social objective that will help us to pit people against each other. For example,
actually, yeah? Maybe track or chase someone. Yeah.
So we have primary objective now is to pit people against each other. And in order to do this, we need to chase somebody. So that's a secondary objective. And finally, I want Axel, I want for you to pick one of the things that makes this goal difficult from one of the lower categories. Do you have any preferences?
I'm going to go with prove someone's innocence.
Ooh, that's cool. I love it. This sounds really fun. I imagine like some fight between 2 mafia families, and somehow we need to pit them against each other, and by proving somebody is innocent, we have to chase some kind of a criminal, or maybe like, or maybe somebody innocent has escaped and we are like working for mafia and we need to capture them and prove them in court that they're innocent, and somehow that is going to pit mafia families against each other. That would be fun. Alright, so let's do one last one to make sure that everybody gets how it works and to make sure that it works. So somebody please pick one of the primary objective, and then somebody else picks secondary, and then we pick a complication. who hasn't picked a primary objective yet?
I haven't picked a primary objective yet.
Oh, wonderful.
But,
Go ahead and select one you like.
I think somebody's got to deal with the secondary objective.
So, Byron, you picked a build or repair something, right?
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. And somebody else pick what do we need to do in order to build or repair something. Objectives in the top category. So, for example, we need to sabotage some event in order to pick or repair something, or we need to invade a place to pick or repair something. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna pick this one. I also wanna participate in this. So, I'm gonna say that we need to invade a place in order to repair something. I picture it like as a heist mission, so that we need maybe to steal some part of an object in order to build some of our devices. And who wants to pick a complication that would make it difficult to accomplish? So what makes it difficult for us to build or repair something by invading a place?
Could be that they must cooperate with the enemy.
Ooh, that's cool.
If you're being disguised, and you're like, okay, let's infiltrate the place, but the first thing that happens to you is that like a supervisor comes up to you and tells you, go do this and go do that, and like you end up accidentally becoming part of the machine.
That's cool. I'm gonna say cooperate with the enemy. All right, so guys, we have 3 goals we can choose from. Does anybody have feel particularly excited about one of them, or think that you have like a picture of an adventure that would be based on that?
I like all 3. I think my favorite one is probably the first one.
I'm a pretty big
trying
yes man.
to build and repair something by basically having a sort of espionage mission inside of the belly of an enemy stronghold would be fun.
Cool.
I'm not sure if it's just because it's the last thing we came up with, but I also perhaps initially though I was really excited about the disaster theme, but yeah, I guess these 2 are the ones I'd support.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. What about Axel? Which one do you prefer? Rescue somebody or build or repair something?
I think that both of them have good potential, but I do like the potential spy aspect of build or repair something, so I shall go for that.
Perfect.
Cool.
Okay, so we have our goal that we will be developing into an adventure. Anyway, so just to explain to you how the next part is going to work. So now our goal is to come up with some exciting element of the adventure. Usually it's some kind of supernatural element. It's either magic or technology or an item that we are going to be dealing with. Or it can be like a really, really fun and exciting setting. So you can look at the adventure prompts tool and take inspiration from one of the images or one of the prompts. Or you can just think of something that, if some idea naturally occurs to you, just feel free to add it. So the way I imagine it, we need to figure out, first of all, what we are going to need to build or repair, and which place we need to invade, or which enemy we need to cooperate. So if anybody has any exciting specific ideas that would allow us to flesh out this goal, feel free to add them to the second section. For example, I'm going to add a vampire castle because I think invading a vampire castle would be really fun thing to do.
I was also going to say vampire.
Wait a second. Instead of making it a vampire castle, we're going in to try and build something. What if it's like a blood golem factory where basically vampires would go and take people's blood and put them into these massive automatons, which would both act as, as an impromptu snack for the vampires, as well as formidable bodyguards for their political schemes.
What I'm picturing is that in a vampire castle, vampires have like a huge vats of blood of somebody else that they're collecting just like a snack. And we need to steal blood from the vampires in order to fuel one of our golems, right?
Ooh, that could be a cool concept. I just thought of the Blood Golem Factory idea as something to subvert the whole classical vampire castle thing, because vampire castles have been done to death. And I was like, we need some variety, and I think that could work. That could work. We could have just a... We could have something like that work.
Okay. Personally, I like it. I already love this idea, but I would like us to develop a bunch of different alternatives.
Mm-hmm.
So if, especially guys like Axel, Stefan, or Wise, if you guys want to add one of your ideas to the list, so that make sure.
I've been clicking through these pictures. I'll probably try and link a few.
Wonderful. I just want to make sure that everybody has a chance to contribute and to add something cool.
So there is one here that I think is pretty cool. I'll link it in a second. Actually, it's two pictures, but I'm thinking of the bottom one. This one threw up.
I like the idea of subverting a vampire narrative. Blood golems to me sound really icky, but what if another direction? It's a vampire castle, but it's actually ruled by a human who has in some way enslaved these vampires and turned them into mindless ghouls who aren't able to actually use their psychic abilities against the human.
I'll put in the vampire castle as well into the text, if just so that everybody sees them.
Nice. That sounds fun to me. So a human, maybe he's somehow threatening them with garlic or with sunlight. I imagine they have like garlic necklaces around their necks, and if somebody steps out of line, he just activates them. Okay, and what are we trying to build or repair by infiltrating this castle?
Well, yeah, that would help us because the vampires, we could cooperate with the vampires to do something. So are we trying to build something for the vampires?
Maybe we could build some kind of device that helps vampires escape, or we need vampires' help to build some kind of device.
Ooh, maybe someone that we love has died and we're trying to bring them back to life through that machine.
Oh my god, I love this. I love this. This is so awesome.
And somehow the vampires hold the key.
That's another way. That's another way of thinking about building something.
Yeah.
You're building someone from the ground up. We've got to rebuild them. We have the technology.
So like a queen has died, and we need a king orders us to go and steal a heart of a vampire to put it into her chest and reanimate her.
Oh, that could be a cool setup for a twist later, when obviously the vampire heart would turn them into a vampire. And then...
Yeah. And we realize that players have inadvertently created a dark empire. Vampire empire.
A vampire, if you will.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was the stupidest thing that I've said all day.
But it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Oh.
That's wonderful. Okay, guys. So I think this idea is already awesome, but I would really like us to, because we are doing really well on time, I think it would be fun for us to explore a couple of entirely different ideas. So does anybody else want to have a go and to pitch like an entirely different premise? Something entirely different to repair, or something entirely different to invade?
An eldritch casino controlled by cultists of the Great Old Ones to steal a mind-stealing crystal to remove forbidden knowledge from our now insane friend's mind.
Ooh.
All right.
Wow.
That's repairing it.
Wow, that's beautiful.
So we have a Cthulhu-themed casino, and the main
yeah, kind of like that. But obviously, like you have to keep the Cthulhu stuff like sort of subtle because the point is fear of the unknown, and it's so it can't look eldritch. It just has to sort of feel and somewhat like indicate that it's eldritch.
The fish inside the fish tank are off, but you can't see why. Why? The ranger in the party looks over to the fish tank and doesn't identify any of the fish coming from this area or from any plane of existence they know about. The slot machines are in numbers that, well, are in all of your PC's most comfortable language speaking in, instead of one language. We could work with that.
Yeah. Like suddenly, you start to like, as you win or lose more and more, you eventually just start to hear this strange words in this weird ass language you never heard before in your head, and you just feel compelled to use them occasionally.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I imagine like the mind stealing crystal, it would be like the main prize that you can win at the casino.
Well, like, no, they're just keeping it there because obviously the Eldritch, they don't want you to steal your minds. They want to corrupt your minds, and so we're trying to sort of surgically remove a specific part of someone's mind so that they stop being insane, thus cutting off the Eldritch control over them.
Nice.
So that they're trying to hide it, and we're trying to find it because.
You know what? Just to tie it into the casino, maybe that's the crystal. Maybe they're using its powers to attract people to the casino or to like get them addicted.
Yeah, that works. Or like,
around the casino
like as we are trying to use it to remove forbidden knowledge, they might be trying to use it to remove like connections you have to the outside world to make you even more addicted to just the gambling.
That's awesome.
You look around the room and there are people who are drooling out of their faces, who are completely gaunt and skinny and seem to have not consumed any food or water. You see people who are literally just skin and bones, who continue to pull down the levers because their mind is empty of anything but trying to hit the next jackpot.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait a fucking second. We could call it the Mind Palace.
All right, cool.
Wonderful. Okay,
that's on vampire level.
Okay, so I'm gonna say that it would be good for us to do one last one, a third one idea, entirely different from what we have tried before. Axel, do you want to have a go?
I just had it go, and I need some time to get better ideas.
Oh, sorry. You suggested the casino, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Wise, do you want to go?
Sure. There are a species of bipedal, I don't know, wolves that have. There's a species of bipedal wolves who have invaded the kingdom. Nobody knows where they're from, and that's all I've got. They've invaded the kingdom, and nobody knows where they're from, and except there are all these legends about them.
Cool. Okay, so Stefan and Varen, guys, what do you think? Can we somehow either invade something related to the bipedal wolves or build or repair something for them? What I'm thinking is that we either need to build some kind of weapon that can help us defeat the main werewolf, or maybe we need to... Maybe it was like occupied, like a king's palace has been occupied by the wolves, and we need to rescue hostages, rescue the king's family from the werewolves, and that would like help us to rebuild and repair like metaphorical democracy or something like that.
What if we're trying to we could take the cooperating with the enemy in a different way. What if what if we're trying to build like a ship as they're from another continent, and we're trying to help them build a ship with enough supplies and materials so that they can go home to their own continent? Because this invasion was not well planned, and as soon as they got on shore, they kind of got, let's just say, shipwrecked, casted away, marooned, and basically they are going up and being like, look, we were trying to invade here, but we kind of ran out of resources. We underestimated how long it took to get here, and now we kind of need a way to get back. So we're basically cooperating with these people that were supposed to be our enemies. If things, didn't not work out the way they did. So they need to go to a place to harvest materials.
I really like that idea. I think, I think that maybe we have like a religious group that just like totally opposes the wolves and like is preaching about how terrible and how these wolves are just terrible abominations and are like totally opposed to them. And so, although the wolves came in invading, the party can realize that actually they're just trying to get home, and so you have to go and invade the cathedral of this religious group to steal enough resources to help them get home.
That's awesome. I love this. Also, alternatively, I picture that maybe these wolves have been captured. Like, I immediately think about Shrek. So some kind of paladin was overzealous about capturing all of the evil creatures. So he kind of created like a concentration camp for werewolves. And we need to help them escape and then go and steal a ship. Like steal a gigantic galleon so that all of the fantasy creatures that are considered dark can sail their way to freedom and find a new place to live. Do you guys want to add something on top of this idea, or somehow change it in some way? Or by the way, I want to mention that we can combine multiple ideas at this point. So we have 3 really solid, really fun ideas. So we can either pick our favorite one, or we can find some way to combine them together.
The cult that has enslaved the vampires are trying to capture the bipedal wolves as well. And to get the wolves free, you actually have to free the vampires first.
That's fun. Yeah, so there's like this gigantic cathedral where all of these holy priests, like evil priests, they're keeping all of the dark creatures imprisoned. So we have werewolves, we have vampires, we have some kind of third thing, maybe like ghosts or something. So they have created this kind of huge facility where they are either executing them or just keeping them imprisoned. And we need to help a bunch of monsters to escape by capturing a ship.
And I like the idea that like they're defended by the brainwashed vampires, and so like the cooperating with the enemy is that we have to unbrainwash the vampires, turn them on the religious nuts, and then we can get on the ship to leave.
Ooh, I see. So this human who has enslaved the vampires from our previous idea, he has figured out how to control them. So this evil guy controls vampires to basically apprehend the rest of the evil creatures.
Yeah.
Awesome. So guys, I think at this time it's a good time for us to pick our favorite ideas. So does anybody feel particularly excited about one of the ideas you can see on the list? Something you would like to go with, or some preference, or something? Yeah.
Eldritch Casino, Eldritch Casino, Eldritch Casino, Eldritch Casino. That's my vote, at least.
It was 7 votes.
Well, each chant was a seventh of a vote.
I personally would actually, yeah, I feel a connection to both the Eldritch Casino and the Vampire Castle and even the Giant Cathedral. I like all those 3 things as locations. I think that's pretty cool. So I guess I would say one of those should be in. That's my one.
Okay. What about Axel and Weiss? What do you guys? Which one is your favorite one?
I think that I really like the humans have enslaved the vampires, and that we need the vampires on our side. And I like that either as the vampire idea, or all the evil creatures have been captured and we have to convert the brainwashed vampires back to get them back. I feel like I just don't know enough Eldritch things to contribute well to an Eldritch Casino, because I'm a
Just to
pansy
be
and I'm
clear.
scared of scary things. So
Just to be clear, I think the idea of Eldritch Casino, I think it's just it really could be generalized to spooky things casino like.
Maybe we could combine somehow these ideas. So if the fun thing is about this idea is that you have a bunch of spooky things, maybe some of the eldritch monsters are also have been enslaved by the human.
Mm.
Maybe not like Cthulhu, but something like something else
But, like-
spooky and creepy.
This Lovecraft mythos is like open enough to accommodate a lot of things. So what I'm saying is, if you don't know anything about it, it's just you already know most just by existing. It's
fair
The
enough.
fact that you don't know about it puts you in the right headspace to know about it.
These are the things you can't even imagine them. It's like it just
Yeah.
it tears your mind apart. So
Like
you're clear.
the more you as a writer know about Lovecraft, the less good you are at writing it. Basically.
Fair enough.
So Axel, I don't think you have yet cast your vote. Which one is your favorite between
Well,
the
I really
vampires and
like-
the casino?
Well, I really do like both. I do not know actually. I think I like the Giant Cathedral more, actually. But
Okay.
either are good, in my
Wonderful.
opinion.
Then I'm gonna say that I'm gonna be a tiebreaker here. Although actually it seems like most of the people prefer the Giant Cathedral, and I also prefer the Giant Cathedral. Not specifically like the Giant Cathedral itself, but the idea that we are rescuing a bunch of dark creatures that have been imprisoned by like a holy paladin or by some kind of priest, and we need to help them escape, and we need to help them to get to the ship where they can sail to the land where they can be free. I also love the idea. Oh, somebody. Yeah. I also love the idea that we have a human who has somehow gained control of vampires or some other powerful creatures, and that's what gave him the power to enslave everybody else and like capture them. So. Okay, wonderful. Yep, we're gonna select this idea. Does anybody else want to contribute something to this idea? Some tweaks, something you like about it or don't like about it?
I think we can make it work. I was very excited with the Eldritch Casino thing because it's kind of my thing, but I think the Gothic idea, we could make it work. We could make it work.
I don't think there's anything holding us back from making this giant cathedral as creepy as necessary. I think that there's hey, have y'all ever been in a church when it's just you and you have to go turn out the lights? I don't think there's anything creepier.
it's like you're kind of being watched.
Yeah,
But you know
yeah.
it's not from somebody you can see.
Yeah, exactly. And like
Maybe
there's something about spaces where there are supposed to be lots of people, and when there's not anybody, like there's an absence there that is terrifying.
Awesome.
I would have a few things to say on the matter. So we're gonna have the first thing the first idea we had is okay. We're gonna have to build or repair something, right? And we're gonna have to invade a place, and we'd have to cooperate with the enemy. And what I'm thinking is maybe missing is the link between all of that here, like the place itself being linked more closely with what we need to, build and repair, and the enemy itself as well. We're gonna have here something like a ship. And we're gonna have something like vampires and werewolves, but I think they're really not connected closely to the place as much. I mean, if we're gonna have something really far away like the ship that we need to repair, just kind of that it unlocalizes the whole thing is what I'm suggesting. If we have a story arc that's more focused on the cathedral itself, or that the thing that we would be interacting with would be closer to the cathedral or within, or I guess that's the thing I'm.
Okay, so picture there's.
It's not a suggestion; it's more of a complaint, I guess. Yeah.
No, that's okay. That's a valid thing to say. So here's what I picture it. This is like what I see in my mind. So we have a castle where a bunch of monsters live. Vampires, werewolves, a bunch of other stuff. We have a Van Helsing, who is like a holy paladin, really badass monster hunter. He gets into this island and he manages to gain control of the vampire castle in the middle of the island. And he controls all the vampires. And now he is ruthlessly persecuting all of the monsters on this island. And now we need to help them to escape from the island, and because it's an island, there's a ship like nearby, there's a port where you can steal a ship. That's what I see.
I guess maybe I don't think I've said it properly last time, but now I can say it. So in the first idea we had, we had the vampire castle, we had the machine in the vampire castle. It was sort of like a universe of its own, right? Like if you think of a video game, that's the level you're on, and there isn't really much outside the level you need to be concerned about. And the same with the Eldritch Casino. You probably have this universe, is the casino, and everything's sort of within it. If you have the cathedral, again, I would really try to steer it towards being the cathedral of the universe, and things outside. I mean, okay, it's a ship outside. It maybe doesn't even far away, but it's not really like within the universe of the cathedral. It's not. If it was a video game, you'd have to like model the ship, and like see outside things, or even if you don't model the ship, it's still something linked to the plot that's outside the physical bounds of this universe we're building. I guess. Anyway, I didn't mean to try to push the idea. I just wanted to clarify what I meant last time.
The cathedral is a boat. I don't know.
Okay, that could actually that could actually solve that.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
It is a boat, and the Van Helsing is threatening to sink it if he doesn't get his way. I don't know.
Vampires are afraid of water or something.
Wait, it's Van Hel. You guys are saying like it's a Van Helsing fighter, paladin. His name could literally be Van God.
Van Gogh.
Van Hel, also Hell
Vanguard.
in his name.
Cool.
Van God.
Van Helsing. The boat sinks.
Yes, into hell. It sinks.
Yeah.
So something like that, by the way, would be the perfect title for the adventure, because puns work really well for that.
Sinking cathedral ship. Which sinking to hell, literally, with like demons coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
And just the picture.
Okay, so with this idea, it would be like in my imagination is that this guy, he has captured. He sailed somewhere and he has captured a bunch of werewolves and imprisoned them on the ship. And now we need to either liberate them from the ship, or we need to help them to. Yeah, I imagine them like liberating them from the cages, helping them take over the ship, and helping them like to sail the ship away from again to freedom. It's just we would need to figure out some way to make them relatable and likable. And also, personally, I think it's okay to have the whole universe of the game. Like, it doesn't have to be one location. In fact, it's usually better to have like 3 or 5 exciting locations that we have to travel through, because that usually helps us to develop a game with more interesting stuff in it. So in my head, what I would picture is that we have an island, we have a castle in the middle of it, and we have a port, and we maybe have like some kind of dark forest between them, or a city of monsters. And the whole journey would be about liberating people from the castle and getting them to the port. But the idea with the ship, we can also make it work, and it could also be something awesome.
I really like the sort of elegance of the whole story being linked to just this place, and I think the cathedral ship is unique enough of an idea, get people's minds engaged, because you have to imagine it. You have to imagine it, and it's a place that you probably haven't imagined before or even seen anywhere.
All right, so we
even if at first it sounds ridiculous, because that's the first thing I think people would think is, okay, that's a bit silly, but if you can make it believable.
So we have a dark holy ship that is kind of like purges the evil from all kinds of all parts of the world, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys have any things to add on top of this idea in terms of, like, if we decide to go with the cathedral ship, what do we want to do? What do we want to accomplish?
What do we want to accomplish, or what does Van Helsing want to accomplish?
I mean, what do players want to accomplish? So, do you want the players to liberate people from the ship? Do we want the players to steal the ship? Do we want to somehow, for some reason, build or repair the ship?
We have to in some way help the players realize that the werewolves are wrongfully imprisoned, and I think that perhaps a hook is that Van Helsing drives the giant cathedral boat up to the shore, and then these swarms of vampires swarm through the city, demanding that basically the evil be purged or something. We could have some weird chant or something, and then people just start turning in their neighbors, like the witch hunts, the Salem witch trials and whatnot. You just point to the first hairy dude who's enough of an outcast and say he's a werewolf. And sometimes, yeah, that is a werewolf, but maybe not all the time. And so, and maybe a lot of the werewolves are perfectly innocent people who live within their societies and aren't off murdering people. The occasional cow or something, but not everybody. And so, they take away a perfectly innocent person, and the party has to figure out how to get them free. And then when they realize that Van Helsing intends for this whole thing to be taken out into the middle of the ocean or the middle of the sea, and then to sink it and kill everyone on board, then they realize that they have to repair the ship in order to help these people, and they have to get the vampires to help them do it.
That's fun. So maybe the werewolves they have captured is Professor Lupin from Harry Potter. Alternative idea, I thought that maybe the players have been captured along with the monsters.
I think, if I may say so as well, I think that getting captured is probably a good start for why you're beyond the ship in the first place. Because
Yeah.
usually it can be like really tricky to just get on the ship. Like you start outside the ship and then you're gonna spend half the game just getting on the ship. You start in the ship in some circumstance, being imprisoned, perhaps.
Yeah. So are we skipping down to the exciting adventure hub?
I think first of all, once we have so I'm gonna say that we will go with the idea that players have been captured onto the ship and have been and are trying to escape. I think this is like a straightforward idea that everybody thinks is on board with. I don't think it's time to skip to the exciting adventure hook yet, although I think it's pretty clear that this is what we have. Usually, it's good to go through the sections step by step and develop them in order. So the next step would be to develop the exciting locations. And if we have decided that the whole setting of the adventure is going to be on the ship, it would be good to come up with a cool idea for a few exciting locations inside of the ship. And usually it's better to figure out where does the adventure begin, where it might lead, and an awesome set piece for the climax. So, for example, it can begin in the jail cells, right?
Yeah.
If I can suggest the set piece for the climax,
Yeah.
The bell tower, the final battle being up above the ship.
I think.
Yeah.
Ooh, except that it is a sinking bell tower. So it's half filled with water.
It's the top part of the ship, so at that point probably a lot of things are also sinking, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's fun to me already. I like it. So it's like a Titanic scene.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is a truly awesome location for the climax. Now we need a few more places inside of the ship that the players would have to visit, to go through. I imagine one of them might be the captain's quarters or the Van Helsing that we have to visit for some reason.
Yeah.
I think just having this, the standard crew quarters might be better because your goal isn't to end Van Helsing, it's to stop the ship, right? So having just a regular crew quarters might work better because then you're going in there to find like the plans of the blueprints of the ship, or you're trying to find some way to you're trying to figure out how you're going to do what you need to do, and then
can we make the crew quarters the crypt since they're vampires?
Ooh, that's awesome.
Ooh. Yeah, that's cool.
That is so cool. I immediately can see that maybe this whole ship was not built by the Van Helsing. The whole ship was built by vampires so that they can sail through the oceans despite being unable to be in the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah!
Yeah!
I love that.
If it goes fast enough, it's always night.
Religious themed casino.
That's funny.
I apologize, I had to.
No, actually, absolutely. So these vampires, this whole ship, it's almost like a city, like a literally Titanic-sized. It is a place where vampires live and hide from the sun. And maybe they're like kind of not exactly pirate vampires, but somehow seafaring vampires, which is not something I have ever seen before.
Vampires. I'm so sorry.
So they may also have a casino for some reason. That is themed as Cthulhu, that they are big a fan of.
They have this is just all happening in the same universe as that Eldritch Casino, and they just have an extra, like a secondary branch on top of this like vampire ship. They just, have for some reason. I guess they're paid in blood.
It could be that the ship itself might run on blood or something, other than what's used, something souls, something that they something that would be like exotic or magical or whatnot.
Faith, maybe? Maybe the belief that this ship will actually float and go is what's making it alive. Kind of a Tinkerbell sort of thing. So maybe how people could sink it is just instilling doubt into the whole system.
Like if you're captured, right? And you're like obviously on the side of the werewolf/vampires, but Van Helsing, it's like they're like, what if Van Helsing got this ship fairly recently, and it's like falling into disrepair and stuff, and it's sinking because he believes it to be an evil, like an evil creation of hell, and that it should be destroyed. And so his belief and his control over the ship makes it sink. And so your goal is basically to just try and stop that.
Yeah, to add to that, I think that maybe the way that Van Helsing has brainwashed the vampires is he's convinced them that he's their messiah. Maybe these vampires really don't want to be vampires anymore. Maybe they maybe all that they want is to be human mortals again who don't have to drink blood, and so that's why they've run away to this ship. And like he's the one who promises to help them be human again. But like some of the vampires don't really believe it because he seems like he's just trying to kill them all, which he is actively doing.
Right, yeah.
The sinking sink again.
It's
What's that? The boiler room is leaking? No, check again, please. I think you'll find it's very safe here.
okay. So let's come up with a couple of more fun locations on this ship, because I imagine that whichever way we decide to go with this adventure, we are definitely going to be traveling through the ship from one place to another. We are probably going to be traveling from the jail cell, from the top of the top of the bell tower, or to the captain's quarters, and it would be good for us to visit a bunch of fun locations on the ship. What else is awesome that's on the ship? Kitchens, that's not awesome. Lifeboats, that's cool. Oh, if only they had built enough lifeboats and spared no expense.
Thinking maybe one lifeboat for the captain, and it's. I'm thinking if there was to be a conflict over the lifeboats, that they would be limited in capacity. Yeah, it would be pretty not as thrilling if there was enough lifeboats for everyone, I guess. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that could be a part of it, because his whole purpose was to kill a bunch of monsters, right? So he would only need a lifeboat for himself.
He could have had just quietly burned up the lifeboats in the boiler room or something.
All right. Yeah.
I was thinking if one thing I really like to have is that when we begin the game is that the plot is sort of like moving as we are also moving. So if someone's planning something, right, to do something, then you would have his plan being carried out as we are, like when we find in the location, then whatever is being planned is being executed there. So if I'm not 100% sure what we're planning now, it's just I'm saying is that each location we're thinking about should in some way reflect what's happening. There should be some action going on there which would be tied to the plot. Anyway, that's all.
Yeah.
Like a monster movie film.
Could have like a sort of like, I'm just trying to think of locations here. I'm not entirely sure what its point, what its purpose in the plot would be. If you could have sort of a memorial room where there used to be like a bunch of paintings of like people who lived on the ship who like are no longer there for some reason, and you can just tell that a bunch of paintings have been removed, and it's replaced by just one painting now of Van Helsing, with like a golden plaque that says Van Helsing, the Savior, the Messiah, like a bunch of like really pretentious titles underneath. Like,
That's fun. I instantly pictured like the captain's room from Wall-E, where they had a bunch of captain portraits, and he just basically just crossed out the rest of them and just put his own gigantic portrait at the top.
I really like the idea that there's a monastery on this boat. That like the vampires, a bunch of the vampires are monks, and like they, like or maybe they're not all vampires, but there's a monastery that like you go into, and it's a place of complete silence, and everyone in there has taken a vow of silence. And when you step in, you realize that actually there's a spell of silence over it, and none of the players can communicate with each other as they're moving through here.
That's really fun. That's really cool. We will figure out to somehow incorporate this idea into adventure, or maybe there is just a bunch of sleeping pirates that we cannot wake up. But monastery is also cool. All right, I'm gonna add one more location. Is a cargo compartment with treasure. And maybe a bunch of hideaway werewolves or vampires that have managed to escape being imprisoned.
And hey, with treasure and wine that may or may not be blood.
Nice. Okay, I think we have a bunch of awesome locations right now, and I think we can start thinking about the characters. So we obviously have the Van Helsing. If somebody has a better name for him, just feel free to replace it with somebody better, something better. But we can just use it as a placeholder. That also works. Also, I think it's a good time for us to start thinking about how to combine it all together into something that is a bit more cohesive and makes a bit more sense. So what we do have is that we have players captured into the jail cells. They escape from the jail cells. They are surrounded by monsters who are kind of innocent and likable. So we want to help these monsters. So that's where adventure begins. That's just me trying to think through it and imagine how that adventure is going to work. And we have a solid climax where we are sinking on the ship, and we need to either escape from it or repair it. So that makes sense to me. And we have a good antagonist. What we need is we need to clarify things about Van Helsing, like what he has done. Like the way I picture it is that Messiah is a fun idea. To me personally, it feels more difficult to make sense of in terms of just it feels more complicated than I can handle. But if somebody has a way to make sense for it, please add a suggestion.
I mean, like, the thing is, he's not actually the Messiah. He's just lying, right? Yeah. So it's like It's more like a self-described Messiah, because he came on there and said, "Hey guys, I'm going to save you," and he may not have done that. He may, in fact, have done the exact opposite.
Yeah, personally, I'm gonna quickly pitch my vision of it, and if you guys have a better idea to make sense of Messiah, you can also contribute it the way I picture it, because I'm just trying to start combining these ideas into something more simple and straightforward that we can make a straightforward adventure out of. So what I picture is that he's not trying to be a Messiah. He has just there was the ship of vampires sailing because these are seafaring vampires. That's just the basic, like, this is the setting. What he has done is that he has snuck into the ship because he is a badass, and he has managed to mind control the vampires, perhaps by threatening their leader or putting some kind of spell on them. So he managed to enthrall these vampires. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I imagine he's like threatening the vampire leader to make everybody else fall in line. So he's not like trying to trick them, he is just forcing them to do his bidding. And now Van Helsing is sailing a ship full of vampires. He sails it from place to place and uses the vampires to capture and apprehend the monsters. So what happened in our adventure is that this ship of vampires sailed up to our city. He captured us and a bunch of werewolves, and a bunch of players and a bunch of werewolves and a bunch of other monsters, put them in the jail cells. And now we just have we have to break out of the ship filled with mind control vampires. We liberate the vampires. That allows us to defeat the Van Helsing, and it allows us to gain freedom. So that's just my attempt to summarize it all together in a way that makes sense in my head.
I think that's all correct. I think that's a good way of seeing it. I think that all that we have to do to modify that and to combine it with the Messiah idea is that he has threatened the leader or promised the leader that, and maybe the leader is the high priest. If the high priest, declares him to be the chosen one who's going to save all of them, and that's how he gets the rest of their loyalty.
So we have a vampire high priest. That's fun. That would be another character for us.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any suggestions on this stuff? Also, any ideas for other characters we might want to meet?
It only had maybe for Van Helsing. I'm thinking if there's any way we could simplify. Maybe it's just because I'm tired, but I'm still a little lost. If like him becoming the leader, if there was like a more just straightforward way. I mean, I'm probably through deceit or through something. It's just that requires less explanation.
Well, I mean, do you really need an explanation for why he's the leader?
I guess
like-
not. I guess not. Actually, maybe yeah. Maybe he's the leader, but through I guess some element of deceit or something like.
I think the important part is that it's clear that he's a really, really, really bad leader. And the exact method by which he is a leader or became a leader is not the point of the story. The point is sort of breaking things out. Breaking his hold on the ship. And so...
Okay, all right. Can go with that.
Personally, I would simplify it. I'm going to say that I agree about simplifying the adventure, and the way I would personally simplify it is that I would remove all of the deception out of it. Because a monster hunter tricking a bunch of vampires into working for him and hunting other monsters, that's the part that does make sense to me and feels more complicated than it needs to be. What does make sense to me is that Van Helsing comes up to the leader of the vampires and threatens him to do his bidding. So he literally just puts like a silver dagger to his throat, or puts like a necklace of garlic around his neck, and he threatens the vampire, the leader of the vampires. And this leader of the vampires, he has full control over the rest of the vampires. I imagine it's like the main ring from the Lord of the Rings. So he has some kind of magical control to like. It's like a hypnosis Jedi type thing. So he just dominates the will of the rest of the vampires to do as he says. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think if we have like one important vampire character who he sort of has control over through some means, and then that explains the whole thing. Yeah.
I think I don't think that these are necessarily like that far off from each other. I think that what we're saying with the Messiah concept is just that like the way that the high priest convinces the rest of them is the high priest doesn't say, hey, I'm being threatened by this person. The high priest just says, oh, this person is our god, this person is the chosen one, or whatever. And that is mostly to tie it back to the cathedral theme. So yeah.
Personally, I think either one will probably work fine. So we can make either one of those work. I would cast my vote still in the direction of dominating the will of the vampires, because I have trouble seeing it how you trick a bunch of smart vampires into worshipping Van Helsing. But if you guys like the idea of just tricking them, we can make it work. We can figure out how to make it more convincing, so that would definitely be a thing we can do. In either case, I think it's a good time to come up with a couple more fun characters for us to interact with. And we can move on to the next section.
I'm thinking if we're gonna start from prison, it's gonna be a way that we leave the prison, right? And it mentioned that we're cooperating through some means. So I'm thinking it could either be the fact that we break out of jail, but if we break out of jail, that would probably be somebody hunting us, even though we're like being disguised. If there's like a warden for it, or maybe the other idea is there's somebody who's like maybe managing the prisoners, who like maybe needs us to do work around the ship, or if we escape, there should be someone chasing us, or if we are sort of like working, then somebody managing us and who's maybe like guiding us. I guess.
That's cool. We have a prison guard, Warden. I mean, if we are sitting in the jail cells, we would probably need to trick them somehow into letting us escape. Or maybe somehow threatening them to be on our side. Or convincing him to betray his master.
I also have maybe one more idea come to mind as to how we start if we're good prisoners, maybe as sacrifices we'd start out, except the part where we're getting sacrificed, something happens and we get our freedom somehow. Maybe somebody takes a liking to us, and then they say, actually, how about instead they buy us, or I don't know. Or
Ooh. A lovable werewolf. The werewolf is actually, their human form is a child, but a child in human years is in wolf years much larger. So this werewolf that you first see, who is like 7 feet tall, giant thing, they shrink down, then they're actually a 9-year-old girl. She slips through the gates and goes and gets the keys.
That's really fun.
I would agree that if we have like an escape, a proper escape, or a stealthy escape, it adds more like tension to the game. It's like, you're always on the lookout. You're being worried if you have that going. That's probably a plus, I guess. And then ultimately, I guess when a player escapes from a cell, they would immediately be thinking, okay, we escaped the cell now. How do we get off the ship? That would be the major concern. So then it's probably good that we don't have easy ways off the ship, like lifeboats and stuff, and instead we have to get involved with the plot.
I wonder if then the 9-year-old girl can tell them, like, my mom was taken to the sanctuary or something, and like the little girl will not leave without her mom, and so they have to try and go.
So do you guys imagine they are sacrificing monsters for some reason? Like maybe in order to keep the ship sailing, although it doesn't make much sense to me, or maybe he's just executing them in order for some reason. Maybe he's just executing the non-useful monsters that cannot help him to take over the cities.
Well, I was thinking if it's vampires, they have like blood, they drink blood, so maybe it's like a ritual sacrifice, and then they drink the blood from wine cups or something.
Oh, that makes sense.
Like it could be like a sideshow, and like maybe there's some main event, and then there's a sacrifice here, and then there's this little you have the blood flowing out, and there's a fountain that like makes the blood go, and then people come with their cups and fill it, and I guess.
Oh man,
it's like higher quality blood, right? Because it's flesh, and then instead of the barrel stuff.
Yeah, that makes so much sense to me. So prisoners are actually captured as food for vampires. Actually, that's brilliant. I wouldn't have thought of this. I love this. So they are not just prisoners. He's not just destroying monsters. He's using them as like fuel, as food for vampires. That's great.
Yeah.
Treats.
Yeah, treats.
And then and there could be like where you're from. It's like the vintage of it. Like like they begin, the whole thing could begin like they're asking you questions, where are you from? And then they're like, oh, that's a good one. And you can, make up whatever name, and they're like really excited because they don't know that name, so they think, oh, that's gonna be exotic.
This is so
Anyway.
fun. Warden, do you wanna add a character to our list of characters? Warren? I think you're muted.
I was muted. So we have Vampire High Priest is brainwashed, a lovable werewolf. And we're going for classic horror stuff. Because we've got vampire, werewolf. We could have the mummy. We could have a mummy warden. A mummy prison warden who the reason why nobody's getting out is that they've got basically the entire prison block wrapped around. They've got a mummy wrap, basically a bandage on their neck that just acts like a leash.
Ooh, that's cool.
That's pretty good.
And of course, they're and at this point, it's less about, it's for salvation and everything. It's just more like, at this point, it's just like jumping from one weird cult to another. They're just very lethargic and aloof about this.
Cool.
The aloof mummy prison guard seems very interesting to me, and kind of comedical.
So kind of like a secretary in DMV who just
Yeah. Ha. Ha. Ha.
exactly.
Ha.
Yeah, I also
Department
picture
of Mummy
Zootopia.
Vehicles.
Okay, guys. So unless somebody else wants to add a fun character idea, we can move on to developing the plot. I think we have enough to work with.
Yeah.
I think it's just one second because I'm always having trouble navigating all this stuff. Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay, let's go on with the adventure hook. I think it's pretty clear. It's just the question I have for you guys is that do you guys want to start with players living in the city and just being captured by a mob of vampires, which sounds fun, but also opens them to an opportunity to fight and escape or something like that? Or do you want to start in the jail cells? Or do you have some other ideas?
Ooh, they could start in a jail cell, like they just wake up and they're in a jail cell, and then they're like, okay, where are we going? What's happening? And they are transferred to the boat, and like vampires come in and take them away.
I would
That way, they aren't fighting the vampires. They aren't able to like escape and whatnot. Like they might wake up feeling like they're in a trance or something. I don't know. But
if I could I think there's two ways that I can see that would work really well. And one is that yes, we start in a jail that's like outside the ship, and we're at the beginning is when you get onto the ship, loaded the ship, and yeah, you won't really have an opportunity there to do anything. You'd be in a cell. But then if we give like the GM like an opportunity to really describe it from outside, and it would be like a cinematic thing, and it would really help set the scene. And the alternative is if we start, however, if we do start within the ship, then I think it would be a good idea if the players won't actually know that they're in a ship. They're just like they remember they got captured. They might have less intimidating, but then it's more mystery. Like, okay, where are we? What's going on? So again, but I'm not trying to weigh in on any of these ideas. I just think that if we're going to be on the ship, maybe make it play it more for the mystery part of like figuring out what's going on. And if we're going to start outside the ship, then build on the idea of having an opportunity to describe it in its complete glory. And yeah,
Yeah, I think personally I would. It seems to me the simplest way to start is in the jail cells in the lower decks of the ship, just because you don't have then a big scene where nothing much happens, where players don't have control over them being transferred to the ship. But I see what you're saying, that if they're being transferred to the ship from the city, then we can describe the ship, how it looks like from outside, and I like that. And if they're saying in the inside, surrounded by a bunch of monsters, that's a cool mystery.
I mean, they could know that they're in like a cathedral thing, you know, that it's just that they don't have to know it's a ship, you know. It's like it's something they realize over time, you know, the little clues, but then the horror of it is like, okay, time to escape, except when, you know, like trying out of the window and you just see the sea everywhere, and
That's
it's
awesome.
a moment where
I really like the idea that it's called the Cathedral of San Mar, which is just the Cathedral of Saint Sea, right? Saint Ocean. But most people probably wouldn't get it, and so you wake up, you're in a jail cell. You look outside, you see these vampires who are coming to get you. They drag you outside, and you look at this giant cathedral, this giant, dark, black against a black night sky that seems darker than the night itself. Huge cathedral that is looking out over the sea, and you can't even see its foundation. It seems too far away from the city, but you can't quite tell, and it looks as though it might be rocking. And you go, where are we going? And someone says, the Cathedral de San Mar. And then they knock you out. The vampires hit you over the head, and suddenly you wake up in another jail cell, this time surrounded by monsters. And you ask, where are we? And they say, we're underneath the catacombs.
That's fun. That's a bit more complicated than starting inside of the ship, but yeah, it's cool that you can see the ship from the outside. So I think we can go either way, and I think either way this adventure hook works, because we have a mystery, we have a cool scene to get started with, and we have a bunch of role playing moments with the monsters. So I love this.
I guess maybe this is one small element we could leave to the GM or their taste, or, you know, because it could work either way. It's so, you know, whichever if they have more time, maybe they can go with this extra description or something.
Cool. All right. I think we are good with the adventure hook. Now we need something interesting that happens in the middle of the adventure. Some kind of either unexpected complication where actually I'm going to add an example right away. I'm going to say that ship begins to sink. Like this is like the most obvious thing that comes into my mind about like how life can get much worse for the players halfway through the story. Either some information gets revealed that makes everything more difficult, or their goal changes in some way, or as you see in the prompt, like raise stakes, redefine the goal, raise the threat level, achieve some important milestone, or maybe Van Helsing does something that makes their escape much more difficult. Do you guys want to pitch a couple more ideas for the twist?
I think if maybe if this whole Van Helsing thing could sort of be a build up to a twist if you play it right, that's, and perhaps linked with the ship sinking as well. Just that maybe it shouldn't be so obvious that it's Van Helsing, or that it's or the whole setup is that, yeah. Or just to be clear, because as I mentioned before, I got a little bit lost about this Van Helsing story. So his motivation is to use the vampires to his end, but is it also perhaps was it mentioned also that he might try to betray the vampires? He's trying to kill the vampires by sinking
Yeah.
the ship, because then that itself is like a twist.
Yeah, he's trying to kill the. Yeah, exactly. So, like, he's trying to kill the vampires alongside all the other monsters.
Yeah,
I was thinking if Van Helsing is going to be like in this world, is he going to be a famous monster hunter? Is it going to be the case that he has the name Van Helsing, but nobody like or at least the vampires don't think of him as an enemy? Or is it the case that he's already can be thought of as a famous people who like hunts vampires and monsters, and then he's not actually being revealed as Van Helsing here, he's in incognito. I'm not sure which one we're going with at this point.
yeah, a couple of things I want to say. So first of all, the way I see it is that Van Helsing is kind of using the vampires as a firepower in order to apprehend other monsters. So because he has control over vampires, he has
right. But do they know? But do they know he's Van Helsing?
Yeah, the second part about Van Helsing is that at least I'm using it as a placeholder. So it's like Van Helsing type person. I imagine that in the finished adventure, his name would be replaced with something else. We're just using it like as a stereotype.
Okay, I see. Because I just thought it would be a bit strange if he's like Van Helsing, the famous guy, and then all the vampires are just okay with him running things. Anyway.
Yeah.
Because it's anyway. But sorry, shouldn't talk too much.
No, absolutely. I would love it. I love it when you contribute ideas, and yeah, I'm trying to guide the session, but I want you guys to contribute more ideas. And whenever you have any thoughts, just add them, please. And don't hesitate to share your thoughts.
So I guess my question is like, I think that Van Helsing is not a true believer, right? I think that Van Helsing is definitely motivated to do this. I think that it probably would work better if Van Helsing reveals that he's actually this, this bounty hunter, this vampire hunter, halfway through, right as the ship begins to sink, right? And like he, maybe the I don't know how, but maybe the players find him, and like he pretends like he doesn't know that they have all these innocent people below the ship or anything, until one point he finally turns and says, the point, like, capturing the monsters is not a mistake, it's the point.
That's
and now
brilliant. Yeah, he doesn't think of them as innocent, obviously.
Yeah.
Nice,
yeah, that's a cool link.
Wonderful. Also, I'm gonna add on top of it is that during Surprising Twist, I imagine Surprising Twist probably happens during the Vampire Feast.
Yeah, there should be like a feast or some event going on that would be interrupted by singing, I guess.
They're celebrating Mass.
Celebrating what?
They're celebrating their unholy Mass. They're
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, they're Thanksgiving. Yeah, they're delving into all the flesh and everything, and the party drags Van Helsing to the event to like show him what's happening and like try to make sure that the captain of the ship sees what's happening and the ways that the vampires are not living up to what they're supposed to do. And he says, yes, of course they're monsters. That's why they're going to die. And then the ship starts to sink.
Awesome. I love this. Yeah, so he somehow triggers or activates the process of sinking of the ship. Yeah, wonderful. Okay, guys, I think we are well on our way. I think one last big thing that we need to figure out is the climax of the adventure. And once we have that, everything is going to fall into place and we will know our story. So, ship is sinking. And we need
I'm really thinking that just to make it straightforward, that like freeing people, if the players like think that we should go back and free like the others to make it easier somehow, like to make it so that they don't have to like actually physically go back there. Maybe like they have an ally they can send back once they get keys or whatever, or like I just thought that maybe minimize the movement around the ship, and if you're going from the bottom of the ship like the jazz up, then having to return there would be a little, and to get to the climax faster if we can find the shortcut to freeing those people instead of having to make it a huge ordeal.
Yeah.
Like there's maybe like a control room or something, and then there's like jail doors, and you press it, and then they're all loose.
I mean, the way I imagine it is that maybe you can liberate the main vampire that releases everybody else. So since the main vampire controls other vampires, once the main vampire is no longer in control of Van Helsing, then everybody else is also free. What do you think?
That works too. I was just thinking if the vampires wanted to, I'm not sure if the vampires wanted to kill like our friends down in the prison or us in the first place, or else to keep us prisoners. That might be a concern.
Yeah. I mean, maybe since maybe if we liberate the vampires, they will be on our side since we are in the same boat that is sinking.
Yeah, I guess. Plus, for having freed them from Van Helsing, if that could be like a gesture.
So how do you guys think we can either escape from the ship or stop it from sinking? Well, I feel like these are the biggest questions. Once we know them, everything else will be clear.
I'm a little bit on the side of the ship sinking being quite. It just feels like it's big event. It's like it's a big thing, and we're like a small thing in a big thing. So to try to influence the sinking of the ship would mean that either we'd have to be really powerful, or we'd have to do. I just think it would be maybe more fitting if there's something inevitable. Maybe we can slow it through some things, doing things. We can slow it down. It just seems that ultimately the ship would sink.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would be better if, at this point, I think it would be better if we had found some way to escape from the ship as it sinks.
Yeah, escape.
We realized that if you drop the bell out of the bell tower and chop the cathedral off, that the the top half would float. I'm just kidding.
There could be something with the bell, something magical. I don't know.
Maybe the bell is what, like the ringing of the bell is how the spell that Helsing has cast on the high priest and or the vampires is able to continue. And when the bell is no longer able to be rung, then suddenly the vampires realize that they've been betrayed, and they will start to grab the innocent people and fly them off.
Ooh, so basically our climax would be about liberating the vampires, and once vampires have been liberated, they can literally fly away with the players somehow. I don't know.
What I would say, it probably contradicts what I just said before, but I think maybe the bell could be something like magical enough to stop the sinking. Like it just stops time completely. Like everything just comes to a halt because, like, you usually ring the bell. There's some big event. It could be like a thing that just stops time for some reason. I don't know. I guess that's just an idea.
Yeah, basically some powerful artifact that can fix it. Actually, what did Van Helsing do in order to sink the ship? Maybe it can be just undone with some magic. So if he has activated some magic to start sinking the ship, maybe then unactivating it, maybe like by defeating it, we could make Ship fixed. Maybe he activated some kind of monsters that destroys the ship. I don't know. That does make sense.
Maybe he's not actually sinking the ship. What he's actually done is opened a plane to another realm or dimension that is hell, and the ship is sinking into that, and like so is the water around them. But if they're able to stop that magic, then they wouldn't go all the way through.
Really, yeah. The bell tower could be someplace where the magic is originating from. That doing this, and it could be like a big vortex or like a big whirlpool or something like the ship is coming closer to, and as it's coming closer to, it's becoming more violent and shaky and stormy and whatnot. Like it's approaching something, and as it's approaching, it's almost like sinking. It's not exactly but it's just things are happening to the ship as if it was sinking. If it's coming closer to hell, I guess.
I love this. I think this is awesome. This is so cinematic. I love the idea of whirlpool. I love the idea that maybe Van Helsing has some kind of artifact of storms that can create a storm which would sink the ship. Then destroying this artifact would undo the storm.
Yeah, I mean, bell tower is a vantage point anyway. If you want to do magic, usually you want to have like a good access to your environment, to the other planes or whatever, and like inside the ship you could reason all that if you're surrounded by all these things that like block your magic or trap your magic, so you have to be someplace. Anyway, if anybody asks a question, I guess maybe that's the reason why you would go up to the bell tower to do this. Also because you want to be more secluded, maybe. But I guess there would be some visual parts of the spell that would hint that you have to go there to. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think we can somehow lead players into stopping the storm. By the way, before we continue, we have been doing the brainstorm for about 1 hour and 50 minutes. And I want to quickly ask you guys, first of all, how are you doing on time and are you having fun? Do you want to continue with the challenges and the rest of it to flesh it out a bit more?
I'm having fun. I have a hard deadline in 30 minutes that I have to end. But
Oh, I think we will finish it in 30 minutes, no problem. What about the rest of you guys?
I
Enjoying this quite a bit. Go on.
I've enjoyed this, but I am going to have to hop off at the dead 2 hour limit because my mental stamina cannot go on for much longer. It's been a bit.
Yeah, that's fair. And Axel?
I don't have a particular deadline. I've enjoyed myself so far, at least. I don't have a particular deadline.
Okay, wonderful. I'm gonna say that I think we should at least try to, in the next 10 minutes, try to make a list of challenges. That it would be like basically the list of challenges is going to be our outline of the adventure. I'm gonna remove outline section real quick. So we are going to create a list of challenges that the players will have to go through in order to complete this adventure, and that will basically take care of the most important elements of our adventure. And if we after that have a bit of time or energy, we can develop it a bit further.
I was thinking if we're short on time, maybe we could take a little time for everyone to write up real quick some ideas, and then we can just go over those. Especially since now we have like a real detailed setting, so I guess they'd be compatible. Anyway, I'll just get to.
Yeah, for sure. Let's just see if we can make a list of escalating challenges. I think we can do this, and this will be basically our course of the story. And then after the brainstorm, if we want to talk about some more, develop it a bit further, we can do that, no problem. So we start in the prison. We have to escape from the prison, and we have to convince the mummy, who is like a goofy, lovable guy, or maybe he's he's a DMV clerk. So we have either bribe or convince the mummy to let us escape, right? Or we are being dragged off out of the... Oh no, so some monsters have been dragged out of the prison to the Cathedral, to the Vampire Feast, right? So we are either dragged with them or we need to follow them to help them.
Well, so that's why I suggested the 9-year-old werewolf.
Yeah.
Like her mom is there. She refuses to leave without her mom.
Okay, and that's who we are helping.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why. So her mom is being dragged off to prison. We have this heartbreaking scene where she's like, mommy, don't go. Don't take my mommy. So we want to help her instantly. Then we are locked back in the cages, and that's when we are trying to escape from the cages. Then I imagine we somehow have to sneak through the ship of... yes, that would be a challenge. So we have a ship full of vampires, and we need to sneak through it somehow. Then we have a vampire feast. What do you guys think happens at the vampire feast? Is there anything specific we can do to help resolve the situation? Maybe liberate the mama werewolf from being eaten.
I'm thinking if it's like the main attraction, where they get sacrificed or eaten or whatever, the players could quickly drop in as like a sideshow, like, oh, here comes the, I don't know, and then you have to improvise a scene to buy time, I guess. While there are other, like, maybe the party would split a little bit in that, like, one half is trying to distract the vampires while the other half is trying to figure out how to get the people who are supposed to be sacrificed out of their situation.
Yeah. And I think that one of the werewolves might say, get the captain, get Van Helsing, and he'll stop them. And Van Helsing's solution is to sink the ship.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that we probably will need somehow to figure out some way to introduce Van Helsing into the situation. But putting a pin on that, just using it as a placeholder. Yeah?
Like, I think it's... Like, once the feast has started, I don't think the players could do all that much to stop it, because, like, it started, it's begun. But I think if they appear, like, just before it's about to begin, just before all the vampires are coming in, and they're trying to sort of free the sacrifices and stuff before they are, before the feast starts proper, and then as all the vampires, like, are sort of sat down, and Van Helsing is among them because he wants to sit there and, like, put on, he wants to show that he's with the vampires in some way, and, like, because the person they freed is a werewolf, and they're, freeing them causes a bit of commotion, and so as, like, the feast is supposed to start, this werewolf comes out along with the party, and it's like hell is being raised, and as they're trying to escape, and Van Helsing is just, they're trying to stop them, I guess. I'm not sure, honestly.
You know what? This makes perfect sense to me, because one second, Axel, did you want to say something?
Nah, I mean, not entirely sure. I think I've said, like, all I can say about it, honestly, at this point.
Yeah, the way I picture it is, it actually makes sense to me. So we have the vampire feast, players come in, they liberate the monsters. Once the monsters begin escaping, Van Helsing is like, you cannot escape, and that's when he triggers sinking of the ship. So yeah, I think that makes sense. So basically you create a monster rebellion, and once Van Helsing realizes that he has lost control of the ship, he can no longer use it as a weapon against monsters. He's just like, okay, I'm gonna sink it. And that's our midpoint. That's when she begins to sink.
But in that case, I think we should have like somehow by accident like a few, like maybe like a couple, like maybe at most 10 vampires also manage to break free from whatever the hell Van Helsing has on them, which like it might be a spell or something like that, and you start to realize, okay, even the ones I thought I could control, I can no longer control. Time to pull the pin, so to speak, just sink the whole ship. And so, by that point, the players also have sort of like insider allies in a way, people who know more of the details and can give them more information.
Yeah, this
And
totally
so
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're not just running around like headless chickens trying to stop a sinking ship.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what I think what happens? I think players are going to stop the vampires. Oh, I mean, players, in order to stop the ceremony from taking place and killing the mama werewolves, they will have to liberate the main vampire. Once they liberate the main vampire, Van Helsing loses control and sinks the ship. Right?
Yeah, there has to be some way that, like, the ceremony is how the main vampire controls everybody.
Yeah.
And so, like, there has to be somebody who explains that to them.
Yeah.
Or some way that they can figure that out. Maybe all the vampires, like, appear to be blind or something, but they realize it's actually a symbol that they're being mind controlled.
Yeah. Maybe he's like an alpha vampire and he uses the ceremony to refresh his domination over the rest of the vampires, so like refresh his hypnosis spell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when they wake up, they are just in horror that they would do this, because these are all a bunch of monks and things that trying to avoid killing things or something.
Yeah. Okay, and once we have liberated the vampires, all that's left is for us to somehow escape the ship.
And I think that's where Van Helsing, Van Helsing maybe reaches up and causes the bell to start ringing, and it's just clamoring down as the ship begins to sink, and the bell ringing is opening up a portal to hell.
Yeah, I was just about to say, that's where that the bell itself should, when it's being rang, because it has a religious symbol thingy as well.
Yeah.
I think that's cool, but I think what could also be is that now, like, the vampires are freed, they know what they've done, they dislike it, and they want to leave. And Van Helsing is no longer really a threat to them, so they're just trying to get people and trying to fly off. However, Van Helsing is more of a threat than they thought, because he can ring that bell and use sort of some other magical artifact he has to sort of control demons that sprout out from the hell portal to, like, create this sort of a force field, or like field of demons that they just cannot pass through. And so the players have to go on top of this bell tower to fight Van Helsing in order to, free people from this ship.
If you wanted to factor in Eldritch stuff somehow, maybe this is like a dinner bell for Cthulhu.
Oh, right, like sort of demons, but they're not like the typical imps. They have more like Eldritch, more inhuman designs to them. I like that. That's cool.
Nice. So basically, he summons gigantic sea monsters that can destroy the ship with all of us on board.
Yeah, and I think that can also double as the threat, right? The thing that, like, the High Priest has been convinced by is not anything the High Priest believes. It's just like the High Priest is like, I don't want my cathedral to sink into the bottom of the pit, and so I'll control my vampires so that they do these things and you don't kill us all. But Van Helsing has always had this over his head, or her head. I think it should be a female High Priest, and causes the bell to ring anyway, and this Cthulhu thing.
Yeah,
comes.
I like that. Or we could pull it back to the mind crystal from the casino, and we can say that he sort of has, like Van Helsing has this sort of crystalline way that can change minds in some ways, and so he's used it on the High Priestess to sort of make her more attached to this cathedral than she really needs to be. And so, like, because otherwise, like, she's obviously willing to abandon it once she like sees things clearly.
Yeah.
But he's sort of used this eldritch power to sort of convince her that sacrificing this, like having this go to these eldritch powers that ultimately wouldn't actually do much for them, would be like so horrible for you that you just have to comply with everything I say, in order to stop that from happening. And so when you've like broken that, you've broken her spell over the rest of the vampires. He's just figured out, okay, screw it. Now I'm pulling out the tentacle monsters.
Excellent.
Yeah, so basically his whole shtick is that he's using monsters to kill other monsters. So first he's using vampires to kill werewolves, and then he's using like a Cthulhu to kill vampires.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, one last thing. It would be awesome for us to have some kind of daring escape. I mean, one thing would be to just, like the obvious, if you cannot think of anything better, we can just say that Van Helsing keeps ringing the bell and we have to defeat him in order to stop to destroy the bell, and that will make Cthulhu go away. Like, this is like the simplest idea I have. But if you guys have better ideas, it would be also good.
You have to aim the bell at Van Helsing so that he gets eaten by the Cthulhu instead. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I like the idea that like you've already you've freed the vampires, you've prepared, like you can technically fly away, but he's trying to stop you with these Cthulhu creatures, and so that's sort of the big escape. And as like you're down there fighting, maybe you're sinking so close that you might not be able to escape, and so like the daring escape might be trying to get away from that again. I don't know. I think just having the fight on top of the bell tower and then flying away once you've defeated him I think that's good enough. I think that's a perfectly fine grand escape.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe this is a bit retroactive, but if we had one of the important characters be an ally to us in the end who can like fly us out of there, with wings.
Yeah.
Or someone who we would have had to maybe free from the prison, who was like with us. Who actually, that's the thing. If we don't free them, we would have a problem later when we're trying to get off the ship. But if we manage to free them from the prison, they would be like, I don't know, Wem or Werebird, something, and then.
Oh, that's fun. You know what? I instantly picture Thestrals from Harry Potter, these skeletal horses. So they might not even be sentient, they're just a bunch of monsters that he has captured.
Oh yeah, they could be just regular monsters, yeah. And they would come back for us. It's like, they'd see us in this chest, they'd remember we freed them, and they're just like swooping in the last second, and then the players can feel that something they've done in the story earlier is linking to it, and maybe if they didn't free them or they didn't prepare some other day, then they just die in the end or go to hell or whatever.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to kill my characters when we play this.
Yeah, so basically we have flying monsters, flying gargoyles, flying Thestrals, or even flying vampires that can help us escape. And that would be a challenge, would be convincing them to help us escape. Right? Because like we have just liberated them, but there are still monsters. So we would have like at the end, as the ship is sinking, we have like a fun social interaction where a monster is like, "Why should I help you? Like, why should I care about you?" And you have to convince him, or threaten him or something.
I really like that we have a bunch of different options here. I think that the players can, like the GM can decide, or the players can figure out which one they want to do.
Yeah. Okay, guys, wonderful. I'm gonna say that this is as good a place as any to call it today. I think we have just basic outline of the adventure, and there's much that we could develop further. But in terms of finishing it on time, and I think 2 hours is about good enough. And I think, like, personally, I'm a bit also running out of creative juices by now. But I feel like we have created a bunch of cool ideas. We have an outline of the adventure we can develop further. So, did you guys want to add something to what we have right now?
I just wanted to say we had some really interesting turns with the plot. So I thought it was exciting.
I really appreciated that my joke about the cathedral boat taken this far.
That's how it goes usually. So before we go, I want to say a couple of things, guys. First of all, I want to ask, do you have any feedback? First of all, feedback about the process itself. Like, is there anything you think we can do better? Because this is still a work in progress. I'm still trying to make it more accessible, more easy to follow, more easy to understand, more fun to do. And the second of all, do you have any feedback about, like, me personally running the session? Anything I could do to make it more fun for you guys in the future?
I think that the only thing that was, like, a little bit confusing was that it wasn't clear that we were making a bunch of different options. And so, like, if there was just, like, somewhere in the brainstorm, the adventure idea, saying specifically, like, we're going to come up with a bunch of different options here, and we're going to choose between them. I think that was clear in, like, I felt like that was clear, but it wasn't clear to everyone in the group. So it wasn't clear enough, right? And then the other thing is, like, in the document itself, it would be nice to have a way, like, because we had a bunch of things about vampires that somehow became 4 different plots rather than, like, one single thing.
Yeah, excuse me too.
Okay. Yeah, so I just wasn't sure, like, if there's some other way to format that might.
Which part do you mean? During the premise, where we had a bunch of vampire ideas?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Those seem like they were one. I don't know. They seem like they were one idea, but they, like, ended up as 4 different bullet points. Maybe I misunderstood that, but anyway, I thought you did a great job, Lumen. I really enjoyed it. This was so much fun, and thank you all for letting me be a part of it. I'm gonna run to go get my kid, but I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for participating. I hope you join us in the future. And thank you guys all so much. It's been really fun, and I hope to see you guys in the future sessions.
Same.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers.